Last February, to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the Pokemon series, Game Freak announced 2 new games that would release only 2 months apart from each other. The first of these was a pair of long-awaited remakes of Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. From the moment Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire were announced, people have been waiting for those remakes. For many, the games left a lot to be desired. Rather than a game with Gen 8's graphics and gameplay, we got an upscaled version of the classics. No new features or more recent Pokemon, and most quality of life updates and additions from Platinum were missing. From the first trailer, many people were down on Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, and to me, it seemed like those games never really had a shot to be considered great. They are still my game of the year for 2021, but I'm not here to talk about them today. The other game announced last February was a massive departure for the norm. An open world set in the past where you can catch Pokemon without battling, and you're aiming to complete the first Pokedex for the ancient Sinnoh region, now or then called the Hisui region. As more information about the game was revealed, many compared the title Pokemon Legends Arceus to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. And there are definitely some comparisons that can be made gameplay-wise. But while the playstyles are very similar, I think that the two are even more similar in that I believe they will both redefine their respective series for years to come. But in both cases, we really have yet to see how those series will move forward with these changes. Legends Arceus has a chance to be one of, if not the most impactful title in Pokemon history. And as a hardcore fan of the series, I want nothing more than for this game to succeed, especially since the last major reboot of the series was not well received by most fans, causing Game Freak to spend the next decade relying on old tropes and fan service. And in addition to that, Legends Arceus is the first major title of 2022 for the Nintendo Switch. It's looking like a really strong year for Nintendo, so I want this to be an extremely strong start. So today, I'm going to take some time to give my review of really the first blockbuster title for the Switch and the gaming industry as a whole in 2022. Just as a disclaimer, at the time I'm writing this, I've only completed up to the second major boss battle, and before the game is launched, I did see all of the leaked Pokemon. But I'm going to start by going over the story, and I'm going to try and stay away from major spoilers. The player character wakes up on the shores of Hisui, met by Professor Laventon of the Galaxy team, who has lost his 3 Pokemon. He asks you to help retrieve them, acting as the first part of the obligatory catching tutorial. Once you catch all 3 of his Pokemon, he takes you to Jubilife Village to meet with his bosses, Captain Silene and Commander Komodo, who want to settle the Hisui region, once only inhabited by 2 clans and a plethora of wild Pokemon. This game takes place in the distant past, in a time where people in Pokemon didn't live together. Most of the people who live in Jubilife Village are actually terrified of even the smallest and cutest Pokemon you can encounter. The 2 indigenous tribes, the Diamond and Pearl clans, do have some partner Pokemon, but for the most part, they try to stay isolated as well. After joining the Galaxy team, you're assigned to the Survey Corps to aid in the completion of Hisui's first catalog of each Pokemon in the region, the Pokédex. To do this, you'll venture in the vast open areas across the region where the Galaxy team has already set up base camps. But along the way, strange occurrences cause the Pokemon revered by the Diamond and Pearl clans to go into frenzies, causing the 2 clans to become more distrustful of each other than they already were. So you need to help keep the peace and quell the clan's Pokemon, the Nobles. So far, that's all I've got. There are no major antagonists in sight, just a goal to catalog every Pokemon and help keep the 2 tribes from going to war with one another. As far as Pokemon goes, the story was never the game's strong suit, but so far it's very different from other main series titles. There are major lore drops throughout the game, mostly pertaining to the origins of the Sinnoh region, as well as major characters who are ancestors of those from throughout the series, not just Diamond and Pearl. Whether the game's tone will shift and an antagonist will emerge, I have no clue. But for now, it's just a pleasant adventure trying to catch every Pokemon. And catching those Pokemon is certainly extremely fun. This title, again, is heavily influenced by Breath of the Wild, and it shows. You can catch Pokemon with or without battling, like how Link can either engage in close combat or snipe monsters from the sidelines. Battling is almost exactly like it is in other titles, though the order of actions between Pokemon on the field is now visible, which is really helpful. Most newer main series titles have a gimmick that change up battling, and Legends Arceus is no different, adding battle styles. As Pokemon grow, they can master the moves they have learned, which allows them to alter how those moves are used. The strong style makes moves more powerful, usually boosting the power of physical or special moves by around 10 damage or so, or increasing the accuracy of status moves like Hypnosis or Thunder Wave by 10%. But this extra power or accuracy does come at the cost of lowering your action speed, meaning your opponent will get to make another move before you do. The Agile style makes moves weaker, again usually by 10 damage or so, but it increases the action speed of the Pokemon using the move. These styles don't change combat drastically, but either option can really help you get out of a tough situation. Despite the changes to the combat system, you probably won't be spending as much time battling though, because as I mentioned, Pokemon can be caught outside of battle just by sneaking up on them and tossing a Pokeball. You need to be mindful while trying to catch these Pokemon that each one can have one of 3 different temperaments: evasive, aloof, or aggressive. Evasive Pokemon like Starly will run away if they notice you. Aloof Pokemon like Bidoof will just ignore your presence, and aggressive Pokemon like Shinx will attack and pursue you if you get too close. Paying attention to each Pokemon's temperament really is important in trying to figure out the best ways to catch each one. But regardless of which Pokemon you're trying to catch, sneaking up on them is always the best way to start, as most fall in either the aggressive or evasive categories, leaving you with very few options if they notice that you're there. And if an aggressive Pokemon notices you before you throw a Pokeball, your only option to try and catch them is to engage in battle. If you do miss the capture of an aggressive Pokemon, be careful because you can get knocked out when it starts attacking you. And getting knocked out can result in losing some of the items in your inventory. I've lost some crucial items because of this, and it sucks. But you just gotta roll with the punches, or roll to avoid those attacks. Timing your dodges will be almost as important as timing your Pokeball throws. Aside from Pokeballs, you can throw items like berries or cakes to try and lower the guard of surrounding Pokemon, or if they're attacking you, you can throw items like spoiled apricorns or balls of mud to stun them for a moment while you attempt to catch them or gain the upper hand in battle. Most of these items are ones that you'll find while exploring by picking them up off the ground or having your Pokemon help shake them out of trees. The others you'll have to come across by crafting, using those same items you find in your excursions. Many items can also be bought from the market or traders that come to Jubilee Village, but oftentimes it's much more convenient just to make them yourself. And when all else fails, you can try to avoid Pokemon by running away, dodging their attacks, or hiding behind obstacles or tall grass. The only real problem that I have with the controls so far is that running and sneaking around are reversed from how they were in Breath of the Wild. So if you played that game a lot, it might take some getting used to. And the biggest tip that I could give to anybody starting out the game is to use your Pokeballs wisely. During an excursion in the wild, you can easily go through hundreds of Pokeballs, especially if you miss your throws or a Pokemon escapes capture. There are other types of Pokeballs you can obtain later in the game. Heavy Balls, which can't be thrown as far but make it easier to capture Pokemon, and Feather Balls, which can fly farther, but with that they become less easy to control. And like the regular Pokeball, they progress as the story does, with their traits becoming enhanced. Some Pokemon are even more dangerous than the aggressive ones, and those are the Alphas, which are much bigger than others of their species. It is possible to sneak up on them and catch them, but the best way to try and catch them is by engaging in battle. They are tough opponents, however, with some of the first ones you'll encounter in the game being at level 30 or 40, and your starter still comes at level 5. So be careful around these Pokemon, and be sure you're ready when you engage them in battle, or else you could have your whole team or your inventory wiped. The final type of adversarial Pokemon you'll encounter are the Noble Pokemon, which sort of fill the roles of gym leaders or totem Pokemon from past games. You'll fight them in 2 phases. To start, they'll chase after and attack you, and it's your job to avoid those attacks until the Pokemon gets tired out. When they are tired out, you'll send out a Pokemon to battle it, lowering its HP. Once its HP has been lowered enough, you re-enter the first phase, now throwing balms at them until they're ready to attack again. And this cycle continues until its HP has reached 0. It's a really nice change of pace from normal Pokemon boss fights. The only issue here is that there are only 5 noble Pokemon in the game. Apart from catching and occasionally battling Pokemon, a lot of the game is also completing side quests. The villagers in Jubilife will ask you about the Pokemon you encounter, wanting you to either show them the Pokemon, its completed Pokédex entry, or just catch one for them. There are some quests, such as rounding up Bidoof, that are making trouble for the town's construction crew, but most will follow the pattern of showing a Pokemon to a villager. And despite the fact that this game is taking place in a previous region, and that it isn't a start to a new generation, There are quite a few new Pokemon in the game. Design-wise, these new Pokemon have an entirely different vibe from previous ones, and at least to me, they take some time getting used to. I experienced this a lot during the pre-release period, seeing them in trailers, as well as when the entire group leaked. So now I'll quickly go over each of the new Pokemon and what I think of them, so be warned, there will be spoilers here. Weirdeer, the evolution of Stantler, was the first new Pokemon revealed, and I'm not the biggest fan of its design, but I really am glad that Stantler got some love. I'd say it's a B tier Pokemon overall. Basculegion and its pre-evolution Hisuian Basculin are next. At first, they only revealed one form of Basculegion, but it actually has two, a male and a female form that both differ slightly stat-wise. Basculin has always felt a bit out of place to me. It's one of the lamest fish Pokemon, and it literally was designed last minute just to have a generic fish Pokemon in black and white. Even with a new design, it's still mediocre to me, but I love Basculegion. It looks so cool, it stands out, and I've got to be honest, I think it might be my favorite new form in the whole game. Now, this next one might just be because I think that America is the greatest country in human history, and Peak America was the peak of civilization, but Hisuian Braviary to me is a step down from its Univin counterpart. It's a fine Pokemon, but the red, white, and blue of the Eagle's original form are just something else. Hisuian Growlithe is extremely adorable, and it definitely belongs in an S tier. Arcanine, however, isn't as great. It definitely looks ferocious and intimidating, but I was hoping its design would be a bit more in line with Growlithe. Of the Pokemon revealed before the game's release, Kleavor definitely took the most getting used to. But looking at it now, it really does stand out. I love its signature move, I love its typing, and I hope that they allow us to use these Pokemon in future metagames so that I can build a team around this thing. Hisuian Zorua and Zoroark seem to be a bit too edgy, but at the same time, I do think that there's something really intriguing about them. It could be their amazing typing, or the Zorua was almost as cute as Growlithe, but I really do like them a lot, even more than their original forms. And for the last Pokemon fully revealed before release, we have Hisuian Voltorb, as well as its evolution Hisuian Electrode. For such a simple change, these guys have a lot of character and an almost unique typing, and they really are up there as some of my favorites from the new region. Now, for the Pokemon that haven't been officially or fully revealed yet, I'll start with the starters. As many people were hoping, Cyndaquil, Rowlet, and Oshawott each have a unique form of their final evolutions. Oshawott's evolution, Samurott, is now a water and dark type, armed with much more jagged blades. It seems to be the least changed to me, but I still really like it. Rowlet's evolution, Decidueye, got probably the biggest change design-wise, and I'll be honest, I'm not really a fan. Its signature move looks pretty cool, but I think that when given the choice, I'd stick with the original, especially since it isn't even the only grass fighting type introduced in the game. And last, but certainly not least, is Hisuian Typhlosion. The Cyndaquil line is my favorite in the entire series, and has been for most of my Pokemon playing career. At first, I wasn't sold on this new design, but as soon as I saw it in-game, with its flames spouting from its back, I fell in love with it. It definitely isn't superior to the original, but this Fire and Ghost type is a solid side grade, and I'll always be happy to add it to my team. Ursaring's new evolution, Ursaluna, is a normal ground type that you encounter somewhat early on in the game, but not as one you can catch just yet, instead as a rideable Pokemon. From what I understand, it evolves when you give an item to Ursaring, but I don't have an Ursaring yet, so I can't say for sure. But this thing is a monster. If I had to guess, it's probably based on the cave bear, an extinct species of bear that's one of the most formidable beasts early humans had to contend with during the Ice Age. And design-wise, it definitely shows. It will tower over you in the overworld, and I'm sure it really packs a punch once you get your hands on one. Like Stantler, Qwilfish is another really underrated Pokemon from Johto that I always wanted to get another shot at being great. Now a Poison Dark type, it has the exact same stats as its Johtonian counterpart, but is capable of evolving into Overqwil, which is a fantastic pun if I do say so myself. But while I like the direction of Qwilfish's new design, its evolution does seem just a bit goofy. Though if given the chance, I'd still definitely add it to my team. Hisuian Sneasel looks extremely similar to its Johtonian counterpart, just with a new coat of paint. And even though its evolution, Weavile, originates from Sinnoh, instead of getting a Hisuian Weavile, we get an entirely new evolution, Sneasler. While the name isn't great, I do really like it. and in some aspects it seems like an even more natural evolution of Sneasel's design than Weavile is. If I can't find an Overqwil to join my team, Sneasler is definitely one I'd look at as a poison or fighting type of choice. And Lilligant is another one that I'm not completely sold on yet, but I do like the direction they went with. Now a grass and fighting type, this graceful Pokemon is an agile dancer, and I'm looking forward to adding one to my team ASAP. Now, unfortunately, Avalugg is a bit of a disappointment. Often the main Pokemon cited during criticisms of how poorly Game Freak handles the Ice type, Avalugg is a slow and bulky Pokemon, the worst thing you'd want for a type that can only take a hit about as well as a piece of balsa wood. And adding the almost as frail Rock type isn't doing Buddy any favors here. I wanted a new form for Avalugg to be great. Giving it the Steel type would do wonders for it, but unfortunately it looks like our Icy friend will remain as unusable as ever. And for the last regular Pokemon we'll encounter, Hisuian, Sliggoo, and Goodra now gain the Steel type and some additional bulk. Goodra is going to be almost unkillable, and I love that its idle animation sees it hide in its new shell. But in addition to that, 2 legendaries get a new form, and there is an entirely new legendary as well. Dialga and Palkia's origin forms just make them look like they're in pain. I get that they wanted to make them appear unnatural, but this is just a bit ridiculous. And then there's the new member of the Forces of Nature group, Enamorus, now the female counterpart to the male genies of the Unova region. And I gotta say it, I think that the design of her incarnate form, it's probably the worst design in this entire game. I get that it's female while the others are male, but the way she looks is just too big a departure from the other members of the Forces of Nature. Plus, as the name implies, these guys are the incarnate forms of nature, with Tornadus and Thundurus representing harsh storms and Landorus abundant harvests. Enamorus is the incarnate form of love. That doesn't really fit here. I'll admit that the Therian form is fine, but other than that, I don't like this Pokemon. I already didn't like Landorus. This just goes right to the bottom with it. And I'll admit here, I'm not typically a big fan of legendaries, so overall, I really like most of the new additions, and I can't wait to add many of them to my team. From what I've played so far, Pokemon Legends Arceus has just this magical feeling that I haven't felt playing a game since 2017, when so many of my all-time favorite titles, Breath of the Wild, Cuphead, Sonic Mania, were released. So take this with a grain of salt because I'm the biggest Pokemon shill on the planet, but from what I've played so far, I'd give this game an honest-to-goodness 10 out of 10, and I feel like I've only scratched the surface. I can't wait to continue my journey through the Hisui region, which you guys can all join in on as I upload my playthrough to the channel. And this game just gives me hope that we'll see a fantastic return to form for Nintendo after a few odd years for the company and gaming as a whole. So thank you all so much for watching, I'll see you all next time, and I can't wait to share the rest of this adventure with you all.